Fuck your love, shorty, I ain't got time. Three, two, one. Just kidding. Ayo. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Ace. This is Fantasized Football. We are back once again, bringing y'all some more fantasy football content for the 2021 fantasy football season. And I'm here today to bring y'all my starts of the week, as well as answering your start or sit questions. We got a lot to get into today, but before we get into it, quick shout out to each and every one of y'all that come by on a weekly basis. Show your boys some love and support. I love you so very much. So does my boy back there too. We all love you here. One big happy family. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. But like I said, we got a lot to get into. We got the starts of the week. We got your starter sit questions. Obviously, we're going through a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, giving y'all a little projected stat line. As always, do not crucify me there, just for fun. Projected stat lines. And then we got 7 starter sit questions, so let's get right into it with my quarterback start of the week, which is going to be Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. Darnold's off to a hot start to the season. He's at home against Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia has let up 35 and 42 points respectively over the past 2 weeks. Darnold's been over 300 yards passing in 3 of 4 games, and he scored 2 or more touchdowns in every single game this season. I expect a relatively competitive game here as well. Christian McCaffrey is looking like he's not going to be available this week as well, so I expect the Panthers to lean on Darnold heavily. So if you have a decision to make at quarterback and Sam Darnold is part of that decision, go ahead and start Darnold this week. I think he is in for a big week. Now, as for a projected stat line, I got him for 25 for 36 passing, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 interception, as well as 7 carries for 30 yards, and once again, scoring another rushing touchdown this week. Good for 30.76 points based on 6 point per passing touchdown leagues. Now, moving on from the quarterback position, we're going to move over to my running back start of the week, who is going to be James Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars, home versus Tennessee this week. Now, Robinson had a little bit of a slow start to the season, but this week, I am starting James Robinson. He's seen 20-plus opportunities each of the last 2 games, averaging 107 yards from scrimmage, and he scored 3 total touchdowns in that period of time. He's got a soft matchup here against Tennessee, who's averaged nearly 100 yards rushing let up to opposing rushers so far this season, and 5 rushing touchdowns through the first 4 games. And it seems like Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence are starting to lean more on James Robinson and the running game. So I expect a big matchup, a big game here from James Robinson. So as for a projected stat line, we have 16 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown on the ground, as well as 5 targets, 4 catches, 31 yards, totaling out 19.2 half PPR points for a projected stat line. Home versus Tennessee. I think I mentioned that, but if I didn't, James Robinson, home versus Tennessee, my start of the week at running back. Now, moving on from running back, we're going to hop on over to the wide receiver, and we're doubling down on the Jags here with Laviska Shenault of the Jaguars, once again, home versus Tennessee. Now, Urban Meyer came out and reported that he expects an expanded role for Laviska Shenault now with DJ Chark out for the season. I mentioned this briefly earlier this week when we talked about Marvin Jones, but Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones, stock rising to the moon like Shiba Inu. To the moon like Shiba Inu. If you're not on Shiba Inu, get on Shiba Inu right now. Get on it. Join the wave. Or drown in it. That's it. But yes, I expect Laviska to see more volume going forward without DJ Chark in the picture. He's had 7 or more targets in 3 or 4 games. This week is a soft matchup, like I mentioned, with James Robinson against Tennessee here. I mean, Tennessee's probably going to control most of this game, but there is no Julio likely this week, so that should make things a little bit more competitive. At least Tennessee has allowed 289 or more yards passing and 2 touchdowns in 3 out of 4 games this season. So if you got Laviska, throw him in your lineup, start him this week. I am very, very confident with him. And as for a projected stat line, I have him for 10 targets, 7 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Good for 17.6 half PPR points. Now, moving on to my tight end start of the week. We're going with a homer pick here. Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins at the Buccaneers. Now, Clearly, Jacoby Brissett loves Mike Gesicki because in these past 2 games, he's had 12 targets, 10 catches, 86 yards, and 6 targets, 5 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Now, the Bucs have allowed a touchdown or 70-plus yards to the tight end position each of the last 3 games. The Bucs secondary has not looked great. Somebody's got to catch the ball there. Devontae Parker's a little bit banged up. Will Fuller's not there, so I expect big games out of Gesicki and Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle was a guy that I was also considering at my start of the week at wide receiver. So if you got Waddle, there's another throw in, a little extra for y'all. Start Jalen Waddle as well, but I do really like Mike Gesicki with these extra opportunities with no Will Fuller and Devontae Parker banged up, and his report with Jacoby Brissett so far. And as for a projected stat line for Gesicki, I have him for 8 targets, 6 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown, good for 15.5 PPR points. Now, that's it for my starts of the week. Quickly, we'll recap. We got Sam Darnold, home versus Philly. We got James Robinson, home versus Tennessee. Laviska Shenault, home versus Tennessee. And Mike Gesicki at the Buccaneers. And now it's time to move on and answer you guys' start or sit questions. I got seven of the freaking things to go through. So we're going to kind of power through this, tell you who I pick, give you a quick synopsis, quick reason as to why I chose them. Now, the first one we have is Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb at the Chargers. Both of them, obviously, because they're on the same team. I'm going to go with Nick Chubb here. You got to start your studs. He's had 20 carries in the last 20-plus carries in the last 2 games, 80-plus yards or a touchdown in each game this season. I think Kareem Hunt is great as well, but I'm banking on a big game from Mr. Nicholas Chubb this week. You invested big boy draft capital in him, so you got to start your studs. So I would go with Nick Chubb here this week. Moving on to the second one, we have Antonio Brown, home versus Miami, or Courtland Sutton at Pittsburgh. Now, I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton here. I expect a big bounce back from Sutton as well. Antonio Brown here against Miami. Don't really know what to expect. Miami's got a great secondary, and I also think the Bucs could get out to an early lead here and kind of just be running the clock out, not a lot of pass volume, whereas I think Denver will be a bit more of a competitive game. It looks like Teddy Bridgewater is going to play as well, which I like to see as well. And on top of that, Pittsburgh's secondary has allowed 270 yards or 2+ touchdowns in 3 of 4 games, what we like to see for Courtland Sutton and the Denver Broncos here. So I would go with Courtland Sutton there over 8B. Now, moving on, we have Gibson, Antonio Gibson at New Orleans, or Samaje Perine at Green Bay. I'm going to go with Gibson as long as Gibson plays, obviously, and if Gibson's starting. This is another one. You got to start your studs, right? Gibson has some sort of shin issue, whatever it may be, but they're also saying, in the case of Perine, that it's going to be a bit of a committee approach with Chris Evans as well, whoever else it may be. I believe there's one other back they're going to be using a little bit. So I wouldn't put my eggs in the Samaje Perine basket. I would go with Antonio Gibson here, and it's not really close. On top of that, Saints allowed 130 total yards and 2 touchdowns to Saquon Barkley last week. So it is a matchup that is exposable here for Antonio Gibson if he is healthy and ready to go. So if Gibson's healthy, I am starting Antonio Gibson this week. Now, moving on, we have Tyler Boyd at Green Bay or Tyler Boyd at Green Bay or Henry Ruggs at home versus Chicago. Yes. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd here. He's had 11 targets. He had 11 targets last week, 6+ targets in the last 3 games. And it looks like Joe Mixon is going to be out of the picture this week. He's not going to be playing. So they're probably going to be throwing the ball a lot here this week. On top of that, I expect it to be a relatively competitive matchup here for the Raiders. So I don't know how much we're going to see of Ruggs. And on top of that, Tyler Boyd here against Green Bay. I expect Green Bay to probably get out to an early lead. A lot of pass volume. So I would go with Tyler Boyd here. Now, moving on, we have start 2 here. Wow, this is a mouthful. Hold on. All right, we got start 2. Odell Beckham at the Chargers. Robbie Anderson home versus Philly. Corey Davis at Atlanta. AJ Green home versus San Francisco. So the first one's kind of easy. I'm going to go with Corey Davis here against Atlanta because Atlanta has allowed at least 70 yards and a touchdown to the number 1 receiver in 3 out of their 4 matchups this week. Corey Davis probably is the number 1 option on his team, so I expect a big big game here from Corey Davis and the Jets, where I expect this to be a game where there's going to be a lot of passing volume. Now, for my second one, this is kind of process of elimination here, to be honest. I'm going to go with A.J. Green here. He's been consistent, 6 targets pretty much every game this season, if I'm correct. 6 targets every game this season. He's had over 100 yards or a touchdown in each of the last 3 games as well. As for the other two, I don't like the matchup much for Odell. The Chargers defense has looked legit. As for Robbie Anderson, he's just been a bit too inconsistent for me. So in this particular situation, I'm going to go with Corey Davis and A.J. Green as my 2 starts here. Those are the 2 I play. Consistency from A.J. Green over these past 3 weeks, and just a soft matchup for Corey Davis against Atlanta. Now, moving on to our last start or sit question for the week. We got in full PPR, Brandon Bolden at Houston, Latavius Murray home versus Indy, or MG3 at Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with Latavius Murray here. I think that Latavius Murray just has the best chance to score out of the group, and he has the most opportunity for volume. Not a huge fan of this matchup against Pittsburgh for Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams is also going to be involved, of course, and I think it's about that time of the season where we start seeing more Javonte, a little less of Melvin Gordon. As for Brandon Bolden against the Houston Texans, I expect the Patriots to probably beat the Texans and probably just be running the ball a lot here, and that's going to be more of a Damian Harris game than Brandon Bolden, where Brandon Bolden would be better suited to a matchup that's going to call for a lot of passing volume. You know, a game script that calls for a lot of passing of the football, because he's playing in kind of that James White role. At least that's what we assume. So I would go with Latavius Murray there. But that is all. That is all of your starts and questions. Those are my starts of the week. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. Thank you all so much for your start or sit questions this week. I hope you smash it in fantasy. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy watching football. Be safe. Be smart. But enjoy yourselves. But that is it. That is all. That is all there is. Me, my boy, we are out. We will catch y'all next time. And as always, thank you, love you, peace. That's fine. Sweating a bit, but. Yo.